Good evening on this Monday, July 9th. This is your 28storms.com tropical update. Starting off with Hurricane Daniel, it is barely clinging on to hurricane status with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. And as it begins to encounter cooler sea surface temperatures, more vertical wind shear, and dry air, it should go ahead and dissipate by the time it gets to 155 degrees west, so there's really no concerns for Hawaii. Now, the more impressive of the two tropical cyclones this evening is Hurricane Amelia, which is already up to 110 miles per hour in terms of sustained winds, and it will more than likely be upgraded to a major hurricane later tonight, as it is looking fairly impressive on satellite. The good thing is that the storm, much like Daniel, is not expected to make a direct hit on any land masses. But that's not all we have in the Eastern Pacific. As you can see on the latest Hurricane Center Tropical Outlook, you see Daniel and Amelia on the map, but there's also this third feature that is a tropical disturbance located to the south of Mexico, being given a 30% chance of tropical development within the next 2 days. As we begin our satellite tour, you can see Hurricane Daniel barely clinging to life as it continues to move westward, with the much more potent Hurricane Amelia located to the south of the Baja Peninsula, and you can clearly see why Daniel is on the weakening trend as it's moving straight into this large mass of dry air and the cooler water temperatures, which you can see here with 25 degrees Celsius or lower temperatures out ahead of the system. Now, if we take a more zoomed in look at Hurricane Amelia, you can see that this storm is more than likely a major hurricane already, and it will likely be upgraded to a Category 3 during the 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. Pacific Time Hurricane Center update. And you can see on the infrared, we've got very cold cloud tops within that eye wall surrounding the very well distinct eye feature well within the central dense overcast, and we've got a very large outflow canopy, so this is a good sign that conditions are favorable for additional strengthening. The Northern Hemisphere satellite sector shows all three Eastern Pacific storms fairly well, so this is a pretty sizable parade of developing tropical cyclones, and as I said yesterday, the Eastern Pacific is well ahead of schedule thanks to the developing El Nino conditions out across the central and eastern equatorial Pacific, and conditions in the upper levels should remain favorable behind Amelia for the third system to develop into Tropical Storm Fabio within the next 2 to 4 days. But the good news in terms of the overall storm tracks remains. We still have a powerful mid to upper level ridge across northern Mexico and much of the western United States, and that is allowing all three of these systems to continue pushing westward out into the open waters. Our last stop takes us into the Atlantic Basin, where the Gulf, Caribbean, and Atlantic remain dominated by upper level lows, and therefore a lot of vertical wind shear, as you can see on the latest wind shear graphic. The latest 6-day forecast from the CMC model continues to keep the Eastern Pacific active with a number of tropical cyclones, and finally, as we stop toward day 6, we see Fabio continuing to strengthen as it works its way to the west-northwest. The day 7 picture from the GFS model is very similar, and it also keeps the Atlantic Basin quiet for at least the next week or so. In addition, the ECMWF sea level pressure forecast at day 7 continues to indicate that surface pressures will remain relatively high across the basin, so the Atlantic will more than likely remain quiet for at least another 5 to 10 days. So that wraps up the tropical weather update for this Monday. As always, keep it tuned to 28storms.com and the Hurricane Tracker app for in-depth tropical analysis throughout the remainder of the season.